Bambo Akani is the president. Making of Champions, a talent development organization that has produced a number of professional athletes for Nigeria. He's live on the show from the US. Thank you so much, Bambo, for being a part of the program today. The AFN elections that was recently held generated divergent reactions. Now, a cross-section of Nigerians think the Tony Okowa-led administration did not deserve to return if performance should be the yardstick for electing persons into office. Some persons also think he deserves his re-election. What are your thoughts about this?
Thank you for having me as always. I think we need a steady ship in athletics in Nigeria. So I don't think it's bad when you look at the other candidates that were vying for president. I think we probably had the best results possible considering the circumstances. Now, in terms of what needs to happen moving forward, I can see Favour Ofili on the screen. I think that it is going to be a disaster for Nigeria if the nation does not find a way to keep Favour Ofili. She obviously looks like she's declared for Turkey, or she's applied to switch allegiance to Turkey. I would estimate that Nigeria probably has 1 or 2 months before the World Championships to find a way to convince her to stay with Nigeria. But a lot needs to be done that hasn't been done yet. An athlete in Favour's position needs to believe that it will not be career and financial suicide, to stay with Nigeria, given all the monies that are on offer from Turkey. And I think we're not really there. Nigeria doesn't need to offer what Turkey's offering, right? But if she can know that from the corporate Nigeria and from the government, she will get the support she needs, even half of what Turkey is offering is something that would help her to stay. Beyond that, the conditions, is this a safe space and environment for an athlete of Favour Ofili's caliber? I think those are the things that I think the current administration needs to do to save Nigeria from this, what would be a disastrous outcome. This would take Nigerian athletics back 24 years to the time when Obikwelu and Alosi switched allegiance.
Absolutely. You just took me to the Favour Ofili subject. You talked about the AFN doing everything possible to keep Favour Ofili, but report has it that, Turkey has offered as much as $500,000. That's a huge sum for the young athlete to consider. Now, the AFN president was quoted as saying that Favour is an adult and can determine what she wants to do with her career. He was also quoted as saying that Favour is a difficult person to work with. And Favour has also said that she decided to move on because there is a breakdown between her and Athletics Federation of Nigeria. With all of this saga, how do you think both parties can mend the fence?
It will take a lot. I think, first of all, on one hand, I will applaud the president for a measured and, largely mature response to the news that she wants to switch allegiance. However, I would also say that there's really no need or no place for us to be talking about she's a difficult athlete to work with, whatever her character is. All of that is beside the point. There are credible reports that Turkey probably have already offered similar deals to 4 or 5 other Nigerian athletes. If Favour goes, it's going to send a very strong signal to Nigerian athletes that actually, does Nigeria really care about what we're doing? I would say that, is Nigeria even an athletics country that can defend from the likes of Turkey? No, this is very serious. Can we get medals in 2028 if Ofili and our best athletes go to Turkey and other countries who get emboldened? Let's not forget that the 3-year wait in athletics is largely a rule that was put in place because of Nigeria. Because 10 years ago, Nigerians were leaving en masse to Bahrain and Qatar. And that caused World Athletics to step in and say, okay, no, you've got to wait 3 years. The implication of athletes of Ofili's character possibly being willing to wait 3 years of their career before representing another country is really testament to the fact that they have not, she has not been shown that financially or otherwise, there is any hope or reason to stay with Nigeria. Let me give you an example. Nigeria is not a poor country. What says 5 companies in Nigeria cannot each put 100 million naira together and say, let's sponsor Ofili to continue representing Nigeria until the next Olympics, so long as she and the government can settle their differences. The money is in Nigeria. We don't need to raise 500,000. We need to be able to just say that you can actually have a financially viable career if you stick with Nigeria.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to be head and told that you are unruly or that you are difficult when you are the person that can actually put Nigeria on the map. Ofili can be involved in 3 medals in 3 years' time. I put it that Nigeria has a much better chance of medaling if we go all out to convince her that, yes, things are going to change and things can change now. If we don't do that, I think it's time to start ringing the alarm bells that Nigeria may go to another Olympics in 3 years' time and not win any medals.
All right, I'll come back to you in a bit, Bambo. Let's go pay some bills. We'll come back and talk about the new athletics coach that has been hired by the AFN.
TVC Sport Desk.
All right, still talking Nigerian Athletics on the show. Bambo Akani, the CEO, Making of Champions, still live on the show today. Bambo, Solomon Aliyu is the new head coach for athletics, and his job description shows he will be a very busy man once he begins operation. The AFN have so much trust and faith in his competence. Do you?
Well, I mean, let's see how it goes. I think it's not a bad appointment. He's a trusted coach who has been in and around the team for many years. So yeah, and he's a good guy. He's a good character. So let's see how it goes. I personally worry about what the AFN will have to work with going forward in terms of the athletes. If the athletes cannot be frankly defended against going to other countries, if they can't be, given better conditions to represent Nigeria, I think it's going to be a very tough. It's going to be very tough 3 years for Nigeria. I know that the president has been. A lot of people have said, okay, if he didn't perform, why is he coming back, and so on. I think there is, there is the challenge in Nigerian athletics is the funding. Can the Athletics Federation president himself assure that there will be funds to keep all these athletes? He can't, right? But then that's when you go higher up. You go to the sports governing body of Nigeria, you go to the president of Nigeria. Do you know that even in Jamaica, the prime minister has announced athlete retention, intervention, emergency plans to keep Jamaican athletes from going to Turkey? I think 3 of them have already declared intention to switch. That is where the conversation needs to be in Nigeria. Look at Toby on the screen, right? There are very few athletes that can ever earn $500,000 for representing Nigeria.
That's true.
Toby is one of them that has already earned that much in her career. So which Nigerian athlete can turn down a deal like that? If they were to offer Toby a chance to go to Turkey, are we going to say that we won't beg her to stay? Of course we will. We have to. We don't have choice, right? And what I'm saying is that we shouldn't have a choice, but be saying to Ofili, look, we will build our Olympic team around you in 3 years' time. That is an easier way.
Give us some assurances. That's it.
Of course. That rather than saying, we have other people that will fill the gap. There's nobody coming to fill the gap in 2028, right?
All right,
there's nobody.
Bambo Akani is the CEO, president of Making of Champions, live on the program from the US. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts on the show.